drive the place around and kick on back. They dim the lights, it's worth the wait. When the beat drops, you won't hesitate. We got the big beat. We got the big beat. Talks all over town, words on the street. We got the big beat. Jambalaya, sawdust on the floor. You're back down home, you can't ask for more. The big bass drum don't miss a beat. That solid funky rhythm knocks you off of your feet. We got the big beat. We got the big beat. Well, it sure is tasty, it's salty and sweet. We got the big beat. Get yourself together, do the slow drag slide. Friction causes heat, gonna get you every time. You can do the strut or shake your funky butt. Once you got the beat, you just can't get enough. We got the big beat. We got the big beat. The way that you move makes you feel the heat. We got the big beat. Tell your friends, spread the news. You can't lose with this stuff I use. It feels so good when you make it greasy. It might be simple, but it sure ain't easy. I got the big beat. I got the big beat. We got some down home blues, knock you off your feet. We got the big beat. We got the big beat.
Okay, there you have it. Chickenbone Slim The Biscuits had a thing called The Big Beat. And before we go any further, let's bring the man himself in here right now. Chickenbone, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing?
Oh, we're doing just fantastic, too, and so glad to have you here with us, Slim. First thing, before we go any further, let's tackle this name. Where did you ever come up with the name Chickenbone Slim and the Biscuits?
Well, the Chickenbone, a friend of mine, when I started playing guitar, he told me a story about using the name Chickenbone Slim sort of as a joke. And I said, I don't think there's a Chickenbone Slim. He goes, well, I think you need to be Chickenbone Slim. And so when I started playing guitar, which was, I've only been playing guitar about 6 years now. I've been playing bass for 30 years. But so when I started playing guitar, I needed a nickname, evidently. So he gave it to me.
I thought as soon as I heard that, it struck me as something that came out of New Orleans. You just think of chicken and biscuits and stuff, and I'm sitting there getting hungry and think,
it's funny when I was a young boy, I used to when I was a teenager and ate like a horse. My mom would buy the whole pack of biscuits. I'd make them and eat them all myself. So really, ever since then, biscuits have been important to me. So,
I can understand that. And I remember those days when you just ate everything in sight. It was just
as a growing boy.
A right of a growing boy, exactly. Now you guys.
Right. Now my middle, so evidently now as I get older and it's much harder to stay slim. My middle name has become Nacho. So now I'm not so slim anymore.
Chickenbone Nacho. There's a good one.
Yeah, Nacho Slim.
There you go. That'll work. Why not? I was mentioning before you came on that I'm sure a lot of the people around the country and around the rest of the world probably haven't heard of you, or at least not yet. But I know you have one hell of a following, I found, out there in your home stomping grounds on the West Coast. You've got a very dedicated fan base out there. They love you, and the nice things they say about you. I was going through and I said, wait a minute, this guy has got to be editing these and taking out the bad ones, because nobody gets all these good things said about them. But then I got to realizing, and I'm going through page after page, and I said, no way, he couldn't possibly have enough time to go through and weed out all of these and pull these out. You got a lot of people saying good things about you.
Well, I like to think I'm trying to do it right. Long ago gave up trying to do this to be a rock star. I play music because I love it, and
right.
People that love blues, also feel the same way, I think, and so I think we do pretty well in a real traditional sense. I try to keep it as traditional as I can, even though I do a lot, especially recording. I do all originals. But I try to stay true to the blues roots that it all came from, and I think that's important. I think people
You've done a pretty good job of that too. I'm going to steal just a little bit here from a writer, C. Michael Bailey, who writes in All About Jazz, and he said that there was a time when he would have dismissed a recording like The Big Beat as a silly, contrived blues confection, and he'd have done so at an artistic loss because after 25 years of writing, he's learned to listen to everything and appreciate it all for what it is. And he goes on to say what The Big Beat is these are his words, a loping juggernaut of electric blues created and propelled by Chickenbone Slim and his this phrase I love, sveltly raunchy Fender Telecaster. I've never heard sveltly raunchy before, but
that's a good way to put it, I guess. It's kind of hard to put guitar tones in words, but I'll take it. That sounds pretty cool.
John and I were talking before we started going over notes and stuff, and we ran across that. And I ran it by him, and I said, "Now who in the world uses the term sveltely raunchy?" And he looks at me and says, he looks at me very serious and says, "Sven."
Yeah, exactly.
Jump in here, John. Jump in here.
There you go.
Well, I got to tell you, I think not only the sveltely raunchy, but just the whole nature of The Big Beat, to me, qualifies as what I like to refer to as a get down, be brown moment. I mean, that is such a terrific piece of blues work that you're doing there.
Well, I appreciate it. What I really strive to do. Are you speaking of the song itself or the entire CD?
I'm going to readily admit that I am ignorant as to the ways of Chickenbone Slim, because this is the first song that I've heard. I've yet to hear the rest of the record. But
The Big Beat, I put The Big Beat on for a reason. Yeah, as the lead song, I felt like it came out really well, and it fits right in the middle between, it's a joke, but it's a truism. Do you want to play it fast, slow, or half fast?
There you go.
It turns into half-ass.
Well, I got to tell you, you did a good job on it. It kicks ass. I'm very impressed. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the old days. I can remember back in Boston growing up and going to Harvard Stadium and seeing James Cotton and Paul Butterfield on the same stage, and they had this big, raunchy sound just like that. And that was the first thing that I thought of. And I think that show was back in, oh, my gosh, that's got to be 1964 or 65 that I saw them.
Well, that's really, honestly, if you're speaking of an era sort of post-war, right? Right after the war in the 50s was all muddy waters. But then after that, there was more interpretation of blues in the 60s. And that's kind of where a lot of us come from, because we got to hear all that and the originals and see where it's going. And you're right, raunchy is not necessarily sexual, but as far as the freedom of sexuality in the 60s definitely started coming through in the blues.
You know what? I mean, it's got the feeling of somebody just trucking down the street with big shoes. It really does.
One way to put it, for sure.
And John Bon Jovial comes in here every week and does his best to make me sound like I know what the heck I'm doing on this show. So I think, John, just out of sheer gratitude, I will get you, I will send you a copy of this entire album so you can appreciate all the stuff he does, because you're going to love it.
If you don't, I'm going to kick your butt, because I really want to hear the rest of it.
With big
I really
shoes,
appreciate
I'm
it.
sure.
I really tried to mix up styles and feels. It's not all the same. There's a country song on there. There's an acoustic song. But I try to stay to the blues roots, and mostly because of the players that I played with. Big John Atkinson, if you haven't heard his name, keep your eyes out. The word I used that I've heard described him was this generation's Hollywood Fats, which is really high praise.
That is high
about
praise.
A blues guitarist. What's amazing about him on this album, he does play a little guitar. On Man Down, him and Scott Smart trade off on that. I'm actually playing bass. But he blows harp on this. That's not his main instrument. And he all shucks and jives me when he says he's not that good at harp. But I think he's an amazing musician. And keep your eye out for him.
I will, but let me ask you this. Obviously, you've been influenced by some of the heavies, and I can hear that in your music. What is your background? Give us a little bit of, what has influenced you in life.
Well, it's funny because once I didn't start playing music right in high school or anything. I did it as a young adult, and I took up bass with the false idea that it was easy. That was a mistake. I figured that out pretty quick. But I really enjoyed playing it, and I was lucky to back up some pretty traditional and more modern sounding blues groups. Tomcat Courtney here in town, and that's a huge influence. He's actually from Texas. It's funny how the guys you play with will influence you on what you play. So the more you play with different people, you get a lot of influences.
Oh, absolutely!
It comes from all corners. Yeah,
and I think that's one of the things that just makes music so universal. You not only give the universal sounds of everything that you've assimilated, but you get it from everyone that you come in contact with over the years. I think that's a wonderful thing. Slim, I really hate to do this because we're running out of time, but
I really appreciate your time.
Oh, our pleasure, and I hope you'll come back. Like I was going to say, everybody that appears on the show here becomes part of the family, so we always have a spot for you. You got a new album coming out, you got a tour, you got something you want to share. I've got a couple of Facebook pages. Just search The David Bowers, and we've always got a place for you here on the show, so please keep in touch with us. Let us know what's going on, because we want to keep track of you, and we appreciate you coming and spending some time and sharing your music with us. We're going to do another one of your songs from the Big Beat album right now. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Chickenbone Slim and the Biscuits and Long-Legged Sweet Thing.
Right on, thanks.